You're listening to Learn How to Podcast with Natascha Moy and the Power of Podcasting, where I share some of my tips and tricks on the different parts of podcasting success, although I use that word very liberally. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about intros and outros. So the introduction to your podcast and the exit of your podcast. And it's really important to know that we don't always all get this right the first time. In fact, this is the third time that I am doing this particular recording. The first time I lost the audio, and the second time I got 2/3 of the way through an exceptional episode and realized that I had the heater on and that it was blasting into the background. So this is not a one-time hit wonder. You have to work quite hard at getting some of these things right. Now, intros and outros are really important. They start the podcast off. They give people the idea of that it's you that they're listening to. It introduces the theme, the idea, and there's so many different ways to do it. There are no right or wrong answers, none. What you actually need to do is find a way that you're comfortable with, something that makes you feel passionate, and then you need to go with that idea. I have students who have done very sophisticated introductions. I've had people that have done like a bell at the beginning, a ding dong, some who don't bother to include music at all. I do like everything and the kitchen sink, so I do like music, something that really connects with you and connects with the theme. I tend to choose my music from one of the free music resources online. I think Ben Sound is one that I like. And when I go on, I have actually paid for some of their music in the past, but I've also chosen some free music too. And what this does is I listen, and then if I'm like, yeah, I want to kind of go with this, I'm like, that's the one I want. And that will form the music component of your introduction and also your outro as well. The other thing that's really important with the introduction is the name of the podcast and how you're going to say that. So I've got people who have got professional people to say the name of their podcast and to create an echo or whatever. I've worked with David Campese, who's a famous rugby player. He used a famous person saying his name, and the ball kicking and the crowd roaring. So there's that for his intro. My introductions are always the same. I like lots of words that we add together on top of the music that give you an idea of what's going to happen in the podcast. And every one of my shows is exactly the same, I have to say. And I love that. I'm connected to it. It makes me happy. I've got music I love, and my theme comes on. I'm like, woo, let's go. So that's kind of cool. But you can literally say your name and have a sound that says we are beginning. But I highly recommend that you do a professional one. You can use Fiverr, you can use Upwork. It's so inexpensive to get someone to create it for you. You can upload your own voice, your own music. They can come back with something dynamic, with high production value, good sound quality, loud in the right places. I can't recommend having it professionally done. One of the elements that I do think you do need to spend a little bit of money on, you can get away with $80, maybe even less, depending. Fiverr even cheaper. So that, I think, is something that's very, very important. And you save it as an MP3 file. If you're going to do your own production, you just cut and paste it onto the beginning. And the outro, now for me, an outro is often, it's the way you end, and the way you say goodbye to someone is often how they remember you. So if you're like, yeah, goodbye, whatever, they're not going to remember. You're like, cheers, it was so amazing meeting you. Thank you so much. They're like, yeah, I quite like this. So I do a call to action at the end. I give my website, my email address, hello@powerofpodcasting.com.au. You've been listening to my Learn How to Podcast, or my Living Out Loud, or my dialogue show. This is Learn How to Podcast. So if you've been listening to the Learn How to Podcast show, you really like it, you want some free resources, hop onto my website. It's powerofpodcasting.com.au. There you'll find a free ebook, a checklist, a quiz, some other interesting information. Go and look at some of my other podcasts on Learn How to Podcast. So the outro is where you do your call to action. If you're trying to sell something, it's where you're going to try and convert people to actually come and commit to giving you their email address or one of the other things. If you are working with someone, it's where you potentially would include some kind of affiliate marketing or anything. So I also think it needs a high production value. Nice to end with the same music you started with. So I think there are quite a lot of interesting and important things that you can do in your intro and your outro, which is going to set you apart. Now, on Netflix, when we watch a new movie, it's so exciting, and we see, the director, and we see all these, and the title comes up, and the music, and then when you do the second episode, you're like, skip intro. Third episode, skip intro. Fourth episode, you don't even wait, you're just skipping. So remember, the podcast introduction can't be a minute. 30 seconds is even sometimes too long. 10, 20 seconds, high, bang, loud, whoopee, here we go. And then you're into it, you're into your actual interview, and you're into the guts of what you're doing. So don't kind of pat yourself on the back and think, how great am I, and doesn't this sound amazing, and let's listen to my music for 3 minutes. No, that's just going to piss everyone off. And we don't really want to have that as a response to what you're doing. What we want is people going, ooh, let's settle in. I know what's coming. Something pretty amazing is on its way. I'm getting ready. And so it's a moment for people to just get ready for what you're about to deliver. It's a settling in period. So intros and outros, easy to do. Use a professional, use Upwork or Fiverr, get them done well, be happy, make changes, and then you've got those files, because they will ideally be at the beginning and end of every single episode you will ever do in that series. You might tweak, but it's unlikely. So commit to it up front and know exactly what you're doing. And the name by this point is the name, and the tagline is the tagline. So, that has to be your commitment. But that's what I have to say about outros and intros. And yep, if you want some more information, as I said before, hello@powerofpodcasting.com.au or www.powerofpodcasting.com.au. And hopefully, if you listen to all of my podcasts, you will know how to podcast. And it's everything that you find in my workshops and on my one-to-one coaching courses. So it's been great. Hope you enjoyed.